shots. And I think as a result, because they're not married to one style, they can have dramatic fluctuations in their efficiency offensively. And it's something that they've tried to get a grasp on for a while now, and they haven't been able to do it. The other factor is turnovers. When they turn the ball over a lot, they really struggle. And they did that in Game 5. When they control the ball and have ball security, they're really a load to handle because of the way they defend.
Tim, everybody who watched this season talked about the Celtics defense coming into this series. But the Warriors defense has been just as effective or nearly as so. Were you surprised at that? And why do you think the Golden State's defense has been as successful as it has in this series?
I'm not that surprised, Michael, from this standpoint. They've got great speed defensively. Now, they're not an overly athletic team. In fact, they don't really play shot blockers too often. They've got a grounded guy in the paint in Draymond Green who's not going to go above the rim as your last line of defense. He's going to put his body in the way and take charges. So they're not athletic around the rim, but they can really help by getting into the lane on drives. They put multiple people in those driving angles, and then they have great recovery out to the three-point line. So I think their overall speed defensively allows them to do a lot of things and make up for their lack of size. And I actually thought the first 6 minutes of Game 5 was almost a manic type of defensive energy and intensity that came out of the Golden State Warriors that I think set the tone for the entire game. And you saw that speed and the way they were flying around, helping and recovering and chasing guys off the line. So I think they can do it in a different way than a lot of teams. But I'm not that surprised because they are committed to that end of the floor. We just get blown away with the shot making. We don't talk about their defense as much.
All right, speaking of shot making, the number one shot maker didn't have it last night. You were a great shooter in the league for a long time, one of the best. When you see Steph Curry struggle like that, why? What jumps in your head, Tim, as to why? Because Steph doesn't go 0 for from 3. He went 0 for. What's off at that point?
Well, I thought for me, actually, even by Steph Curry's standards, he took some unmakeable shots last night, or at least a low percentage opportunity. Some of his pull-ups from the distances he was shooting from, I know we're accustomed to him making those shots, but a lot of times it comes more in a late clock situation or when he's got momentum up the floor in transition and he can stop from 32 to 35 feet and it looks natural. I thought some of the ones he was getting were too deep early in the clock. He didn't really get his shoulders fully squared, so it was just enough to make the shot fall short. And then I think after he missed a few, I actually think he started pressing a little bit. He wanted it to happen so badly because he's been so good in this series. I started to see him press and get frustrated to the point that when he finally made a little floater in the lane, you could see his shoulders. He almost waved to the heavens like finally. And that's when you knew this was sort of weighing on him, one miss after another. But I actually think his shot selection really set the tone for his night. And I think he'll make an adjustment to that in Game 6.
All right, we'll get you out of here on this. Steve Kerr, in the locker room after the game, after Game 5 last night, said, "We're going to finish this thing in Boston." Is that how you are leaning?
I am not leaning that way. Look, I said going in Warriors in 7. I feel pretty good about that right now. I don't think Golden State's going to get it done at home for this reason. When you look at the dramatic fluctuation for some of Boston's X factors and role player type guys, they're going to be a lot better at home. I mean, the Derek Whites of the world, Al Horford's, Marcus Smart, those guys typically are much better at home. I think they're going to have an impact. And I think their defense is going to be very physical and aggressive. And a lot of times the referees will get caught up in the emotion of that, the emotion of the crowd. They'll allow a little bit more physical contact. So I think Boston will get the benefit of the doubt there. And I think some of the guys that just did not show up offensively for them in Game 5 will have an impact in Game 6. And it will be enough to get this back to San Francisco on Father's Day for a Game 7.
Father's Day in San Francisco.
Thank you so much, Tim, as always.
Thank you, Tim. I think I'll be, Tim. Thank you much.
Anytime, guys.
Draymond Green, never one to shy away from saying what he thinks. The three-time champ has an even bigger platform these days, Stephen A., with his podcast, obviously very active on social media. And lately, he's been hyping up the concept of the new media, a notion described in a tweet by him saying, "We give flowers, the old heads call it soft." Here's Draymond last night on SVP talking about this guy.
Go watch the Draymond Green show. I said Stephen A. sometimes act like the new media. Sometimes he doesn't. That's on you, but, nonetheless, don't just lump me in with media, baby. It's the new media.
Yeah. Go ahead, Molly. What's up?
No, I just want to know what's your reaction that you're sometimes, Stephen A., you're sometimes the new media and sometimes, I guess, regular media.
Here's the deal.
Okay.
Here's the deal. Draymond Green is right.
Mm-hmm.
He's just incomplete. He's absolutely right with what he says. And let me say, first of all, I encourage everybody to go and listen to the Draymond Green show. He has a lot to say. He's a highly intelligent brother, very opinionated, very outspoken, as honest as they come. And I got a lot of love for that brother. He knows it. And anytime he needs my help for anything, he knows my number and he knows I'm just a phone call away. And to be quite honest with you, that applies to any professional athlete, to be quite honest with you, because I think they do far more for us than we ever appreciated. There's a couple, and when I say a couple, I mean only two, maybe really one individual in professional sports who I absolutely despise. I can't stand his ass, but I'll never tell you who he is. And even if he called me, I would help him too. So because I believe that these athletes deserve all the support that they can get from people in the quote unquote old media, as they say. Now, obviously, when I talk about somebody I despise, it is not Draymond Green. I love this brother. That's my dog. He knows that. And he got me the other day, a couple of weeks ago, when he said that I'm a part of the new media too, because he was pointing out the fact that there is this reluctance to give cats their flowers when they deserve it. And he knows that I'm not that guy. I'll give you your flowers if you deserve it. But when I don't give flowers, the problem is I sound like the quote unquote old media. I don't call it old media. You know what I call it? Being real and being accountable, which is why the new breed of wannabe journalists or whatever you want to call yourselves have no chance in hell of ever replacing us, because the level of objectivity that people like myself bring to the table is not something that we have to concern ourselves about when it comes to the modern day athlete. It is a struggle, and rightfully so, to talk about your own contemporaries in a very, very critical way. And we don't have that problem because they're not our contemporaries. We're talking about the athletes. Guess what? We would have that problem, at least some of us anyway, if it came to talking about people in the media. Like, for example, I don't talk about my colleagues. I don't do that. Okay, I talk about me and what I bring to the table. I'm not going to excoriate my colleagues unless they try to get personal and I got to correct them for the record. But outside of that, I'm not going to sit up there and build myself up or for knocking them down. I'm going to ascend. I'm going to elevate on my own merits, and I'll leave it at that. When you're an athlete, it is a challenge to do that. And more importantly, it's a challenge to take that and absorb that. I have no doubt that Draymond Green was not fond of my words about how he looked in games 3 and 4 of these NBA Finals series. Well, guess what? I wasn't fond about saying it. I wasn't happy about it. I root for Draymond Green. I want him to be successful. I want him to go out there and ball out. I want him to be one of the elite defensive players this game has ever seen, to showcase his veracity, his tenacity, his defensive prowess, and to be relevant offensively. And when he wasn't that way in games 3 and 4, I had to call it like I see it. It doesn't mean I was happy about it. It doesn't mean I was rooting for it to happen, but it does mean that I have to call it like I see it. Sometimes people believe that's old media, that's hating, that's refraining from giving cats their flowers. Actually, no, it's calling it like it is. Let's extend this conversation a little bit more. CJ McCollum, he gets on First Take and, he goes off and he challenges me and we get into a heated debate. And so all of a sudden it's percolating all over social media. Stephen A and CJ. Stephen A and CJ have been cool for years. I've been a guest on his podcast. If he ever needed my help, he knows I'm just a phone call away. We had a disagreement. JJ Redick, same thing. We had a disagreement. So what? That's what it is. Patrick Beverly comes on the show and he's getting at me about something. And I thought his comments about CP3 were ignorant. I thought he was lost, and it was a bad look. But it doesn't negate from the other good things that he did. And so what I'm trying to say is that, guess what? Would they be on First Take if I didn't want them on First Take? Would they, I want them to disagree with me. I want us to have I want us to have friction as it pertains to a particular argument. It doesn't negate how I feel about them, how much I value them. It doesn't negate the fact that there's a whole bunch of athletes out here that if they need my help, I'm a phone call away. They can snap their fingers, yo, Stephen A., I need you, I'm there. That's what it's about. But just because we disagree, it's no big deal. The difference is that you have a lot of players. When they talk about new media versus old media, they get on you for calling them out. And here's my warning to all of them. I'm watching. Let's see what you do once your playing career is over and you're sitting in these seats permanently. And you got to call it like you see it. Ask all the former athletes who come on ESPN and other networks, how many of them have come up to me, Stephen A. I didn't know, man. I mean, damn. These dudes, you can't say nothing. They so damn sensitive, blah, blah, blah. That's what they're talking about. But Draymond ain't one of those dudes. He's a good dude, good people. He's doing a hell of a job. He's going to be a star in this business one day.
He is.
He's my brother. I'm rooting for him. Let him get on me a little bit.
Sure.
It's all in fun. It's all good.
Let's leave it
It's
there.
all
But as
good.
far as disagreement and friction, I hope we have that on this show. It's a debate show.
Yes.
Be pretty
It's a debate
boring
show.
if we all just agreed.
You
I
think?
don't know what we'd be
You know-
doing for 2 hours every 10
The
hours. a
only
week.
person that could get away, Molly, with mumbling is Shaquille O'Neal. And he'll get ratings no matter what because he's Shaq. Hey, Molly, how you doing? I'm just tired this morning. I don't feel like doing anything. I mean,
let's go to
Draymond
break.
Green's got to play better. Steph Curry had a bad night, but it'll be okay. Okay. All right. See y'all later. I told Kobe. I told Phil. Phil know how I play. Kobe know how I play. Give me the ball. I'm going to dunk it. That's Ari Spears imitating Shaq. Go watch it. It was hilarious. Talk to y'all later. Let's go to the next segment.
I'm just going to go home. You heard him.
Yes.